make you Joe Hernandez.
You sit where you're comfortable.
Or you can be
Oh, I love
Jamie.
I worked with Jamie. He directed Dissidia. Everybody, any Dissidia fans in here?
There you go.
This is the character you have to blame for that. I'm gonna tell him. I'm
So there we
Jamie
go.
today.
So there we go. Do you want to be Joe then, since we have Joe there too?
Yeah, right. We'll sit him here.
There you go.
So it's Sunday afternoon. I'm ready for a nap. Anybody else? It gets a little
who's been
loopy
here?
after a
Yeah.
while, just standing that long and all
The
that stuff.
lines.
But what a show. God, they run a beautiful convention.
Yeah.
It's very,
Nice
very
job, Stephanie.
organized.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Great choice in guests.
Who's been here all 3 days?
Oh, wow.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Who's been here longer than 3 days? Who has nowhere else to go?
Great. All right, so we're ready for.
We're ready
Yeah,
to.
if you
know.
guys want to just slowly
be
kind of line
shy.
up for
When
the
it's
mic
question driven, we figure it out as we go along, and we're happy
We
to
found the weekend. We're pretty honest.
burn some synapses.
Hello.
Hello.
I enjoy your work, your Final Fantasy characters and all that.
Thank
Yay.
you.
My question is, what's y'all's favorite line of all the y'all work?
I like just that because it's such a great way to bring it all together. The friends we met along the way, and then just finishing on never forget them. Like saying it, like even when I was in the booth saying it, like there were a couple times I got kind of choked up, like lump in my throat kind of thing. And because we do the lines, for the most part, the dialogue we sort of do in order, where that's sort of different than screen work or things like that. You get to do most of those lines in order. You may go back and do like battle sounds and things like that, but the lines for the most part. So I knew at that point what the story was, so I really liked that one. And then I also really like how Dissidia starts with, "This is my story." I like that one too.
Aside from all the jacked, rude, insensitive crying lines, it's kind of hard to beat. I'm the best.
Mine would be, this is so cheesy, a fan reminded me of this one. When pain has a vulnerable moment, we are all connected. I know.
Kinda hard to
and
beat
oh my God, I'm
that.
gonna cry because I literally, you guys have meant so much to me. Like I'm gonna start to cry. But you know, it's been a challenging period, so it's just kind of like reminds me when you guys go through challenges too, that you guys inspire me as well, and I just feel like the light, and like you guys have definitely made me like have a really, really great weekend. So first I want to say thank you. No, really, thanks. I mean, it might look like we have great lives, but we all have like, you know, struggles and things that we go through, and we need our escape. And I've connected with, you know, a bunch of you, and a few of you have made me cry, and I hate you. No, I'm just kidding.
You're not crying,
yeah.
are you?
So yeah,
So good.
I would say that means the most to me because I feel like without the fans, like sometimes it's hard to keep going, but then it's like someone says like, you know, I love your work, or you helped me get through a tough time, and you go, oh my gosh, like that's what I'm here for, to entertain and to connect with you guys. So we are all connected.
We are all connected.
Yeah,
Thanks, great question.
yeah.
Good one. Next one.
As I promised, I wore the shirt.
Oh my God.
That
It's
is
gonna be
amazing.
about it.
Got the Titus shirt that
Yes.
says ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Turn around and show everybody that shirt. Right?
Wait, I have to take a picture of that and text it to James like right now. Hang on a second.
Oh boy.
He just texted
I'll just keep asking the question while you take it.
Ah, boy.
Okay, wait, no, come on, real quick. Sorry.
Boom.
So good.
Here we go.
So good.
Okay. He
So
literally just
good.
texted me. I was
Alright.
like, okay.
My question was, how did the process go for shooting that scene? Like, I know that there's a Japanese equivalent of it. Were you guys basically shown it, or was it based off of the character lip movement? What was the guidance for?
Well, we
directing
always
that
saw
scene?
everything in Japanese before we filmed it in English. So we'd seen it and then it was sort of a case of like, okay, that was bizarre. And then like we never were able to record any of our lines at the same time. So like everybody was alone in the booth. I think
I know, boo.
when you had it was your turn to record. So as I recall, it was just sort of like, yeah, they were like, here's the deal, this was it, and you heard it and you were like, that was really weird. And they're like, okay, just go, it's really stiff, it's really awkward, so I did it. And I thought it was a scratch track, and then they were like, that's it, great, okay, you're done. I was like, no, I'm not done. But that was it, yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny that that's one of the most memorable moments that people kept for some reason in their social conscience.
Yeah, and that's something.
Like, I mean, the date scene is so nice, the love scene is so nice, the ending is so nice,
Yeah.
and everyone still to this day remembers this.
Yeah.
It all comes back. Thank you so much for answering.
You're welcome, honey.
Well, next question.
Hi, Snow White.
Oh, you're all put together.
I know, right?
So thinking.
Very nice.
Thank you. So thinking about who your character was at the beginning of their journey, and then who they end up becoming by the end of it. Like, what do you think's a character trait that they needed to gain throughout their journey, and like the difference between who they were at the beginning and then who they were by the end of it? So that would
I think mine is essentially limited to a father and son saga, and parents need to learn from their children, and children need to learn from their parents. And he had a little sin detour. Look, my worldview is that life's mistakes are correctable. Maybe not easily, but I think we all learn from each other. And as far as we are all connected, I don't want to get too warm and fuzzy, but that's kind of what it's all about, at least from Jack's perspective. He thought he had things to teach. It turned out he had things to learn.
That's good.
I think for Yuna, it was definitely that she can relax and enjoy something in her life. She was so married to the job, so to speak. You know what I mean? That was her whole world, was like doing this and being a people pleaser, and you know what I'm saying? It's minimizing it, maybe contemporizing it, maybe a little bit, but it was definitely, her world was limited to this job that she thought she was going to die doing. You know what I mean? She thought this was, her father had done it, and this was her gig, and so that was it. And so having the opportunity for her to make friends, to experience love, to experience life outside of just duty was so huge for her. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where you don't have a story without that. Without her discovering that, you don't, that's the, in storytelling, there's this famous thing like the day that everything changed. That's why you write a story. Well, it was the day that everything changed, you know what I mean? Was that she actually had the chance to have these friendships and have these experiences that made her more than a summoner.
I think for Pain, I don't think it was a conscious choice. I think she probably had sort of, she was a bit of a loner and probably lonely. And I think that she had friends, but I don't think she really knew how to have them, So I think her shell of fighting, like bringing the pain, bringing the hurt, I think there's this, as an actress, I remember our first acting teacher said, under fear is anger. Under anger is fear, under fear is sadness. And if you push through the sadness, you find love, where to get to the other side, and that's where you get confidence. So, did you guys follow that, or was that just my own? Am I on?
Beautiful.
Okay. Is it too much water? Okay. Too much. I mean water in the bottles. That's what. Yeah. It's just SacAnime on it, but no, just kidding. It's the first person. Would someone else say that? That's amazing. I remember I was in statistics class I put a little in my bottle. I won't lie, but there's no there, I promise. # liability. I would say yeah, I think for her, it was learning to function, like have friends and count on people and be independent, but also like trust that. But that's what's most important, and also talking to you guys as fans, and what I learn about, I think, the character as well, and myself, is like self-acceptance, where like it's okay to be a bit of a loner and have a couple of good friends. You don't have to become this other person, you know? You can just like wield what you have. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, awesome, right on.
Thank
so
you.
much.
And do you see standing up back there? We have.
Oh, I know. Has everybody seen the wonderful cosplays we have back? I'm going to draw attention to that real quick.
Very cool.
That is Oren back there, right?
Nice commitment. Nice commitment.
Way to
Love
come on
it.
back and join us for a few. Next question, please.
So from an outside perspective, it looks extraordinarily fun to have voiced those characters, but behind the scenes, what kind of challenges did you have to overcome to fill the role?
Well, James is such a jerk. I mean, woo! I'm so kidding.
He's like the nicest guy
He's
ever.
the nicest guy in the business. I swear to God, it's bananas. He's so sweet and so helpful and like encourages people and helps out. And he's like, you haven't heard of this? Have you tried this? Do this. Like, he's so great. So he's fun to tease because he's really nice. But probably the most challenging thing in the first one, Gregg may be with me, is just that idea of what we had to match. Like, that was difficult. You know what I mean? And you had a great comment about it the other day.
Well,
about,
we were saying when you're replacing dialogue that already exists, there's also rhythms and intensities that already exist.
Yep.
So it's strictly it's a technical challenge to bring a third dimension to it, and not just try to mimic it in another language, but to make it your own,
Yeah.
and still be respectful of whatever the origin was. So I mean, that's the gig. That's why we work. So the upside of a challenge, you can make that a negative or a positive. If you look forward to making it your own, that's exciting. If you dread, making it your own, that becomes negative, and I don't like to spend time down there.
I think for Pain, what was hard for me was, I mean, basically, she's here. She's like, Riku, seriously, like, what are you doing? And then they were like, and you want to stay in character? So it's, in video games, it's usually more on voice. So to keep her here, but so they would just be like 10%, like 3% higher, 3% louder, but keeping the performance level, but keeping her in that character was like kind of cool and fun, but also like, how do I do this where I don't become a different character and I still stay in that register, you know? So that was fun to work, to play with, and difficult. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks.
great question. Gotta catch them all.
Hello. I hope you guys are having a good SacAnime like I
I
am.
mean,
We are.
Such a great show.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Are you having fun?
Yeah, we waterfall
Very,
that
very
answer.
tired, but I've definitely had a lot of fun that
Yeah,
led
yeah.
to me being tired. So
Are you completely out of cash?
almost.
Who's out of cash?
Listen, you've only
Getting
had a
there.
great time if you're broke, okay?
It means you've had, yeah, right. It means you've had a great time. Yes,
So
exactly.
thank you again for coming. So I wanted to ask, because like I played so many different Final Fantasies, I don't know about you guys, but for me, Final Fantasy just has like the soundtrack of my childhood.
I've been talking about that all day today.
Yeah, because like every single Final Fantasy you can listen to a song, so and you can pretty much be like, oh, I know exactly which Final Fantasy it is. I
Yeah.
know exactly what the theme is. So my question to you, out of all the soundtracks, like which song out of any of the
1,000
Final
words.
Fantasies, 1,000 words is the favorite?
Yeah, that's me
and
too.
like basically just trying to figure out like what your favorite song and
Yeah.
like which Final Fantasy and why.
We have my answer. God,
Yeah.
that song. It's like, yeah, exactly.
I'll just say what Hedy said. I'm not part of this vote.
You know, whenever like Jet, like whenever Sin came, you know, they had the, what is it, Underworld, or like the really heavy metal song that played whenever
Yeah,
Sin
that
came.
one.
It was really good.
Okay, that one.
That one is like really good.
I have to ask. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. A joke. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I would say that was pretty cool. And Payne, I think, was kind of averse to averse to anything. Like, she was like, "I'm not singing that. I'm not singing."
Yeah.
Why? It was like, "Why are?" She was like, "P." You know what I mean? So
That was funny.
I don't know, but the soundtrack was dope. Like, I don't know, I liked it all. I thought, but I don't think that Payne participated a lot in the singing, but I thought the soundtrack matched her character really well, and then for Yuna and Riku as well, you know.
Well, and I've heard that this soundtrack in particular, like so many people were just transported, and it is timeless. His soundtrack, he's done like amazing work on other Final Fantasies, but this one in particular, I feel like, I don't know, for some reason this one was one of the most evocative for me. I know he's done others, and I'm not harshing, you know what I mean? But I'm just saying, in my opinion, this is the one where he was doing some of his best stuff, especially, and the loves, and it's just so good. And one of my fans in Hawaii brought the whole book of sheet music for me to sign.
That's so dope.
And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
oh, I signed it. Look over there. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I actually got a chance to meet him.
What are
and
you
it
talking
was-
about? You didn't bring a book full of sheet music.
Yeah,
I don't know
like,
what.
oh,
These
wasn't
are not
this
the
a
droids
gift?
you were looking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, I was always wanting to know, because I asked him, and he would say like certain things, like he did his best work whenever he was like, when
He
was
said
stumped.
that?
Yeah, he would say like he would be stumped, like because he made so many of the soundtracks from previous games.
Right.
And so he would be like, if I was stumped on making a song, like, you know, there's one called like, oh gosh, it's from 6, but it was like something dancing or mad dancing. I don't know if anybody knows, but. He was like, okay, I'm gonna just go take a bath. So he got undressed, and then he was like, oh, he was like, I was completely naked. And he's like, and then I remembered the song. So he's like, my advice for anybody who's like really stuck on something, get undressed. And then
Get naked.
Shed your skin.
Yeah,
I like
so-
that.
Release the confinement.
Yes. So thank you very much.
Somebody,
Great question.
somebody
Thank
told
you.
me at my table today that there's a YouTube stream, maybe they're here, of like 11 hours of music and cutscenes, and that you can just have it on background and just stay
Oh, the music of
immersed
it?
in all of it. Yeah.
Well, there's a
I'm not
Spotify
aware of it, but someone
playlist,
told me.
too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spotify has a playlist too.
Oh wow, I didn't know that either.
Okay, so with,
Hi.
hey there. So,
Nice to see you back.
Yeah, back again. So with the release of the remasters, there was some audio clips, maybe about 30 minutes worth, and it got me thinking, this could be material for potentially a third game. So my question is, if you had any creative control over it, how would you want that to go?
Lordy.
I like the way you're putting it together just fine. Keep those cards and letters coming in.
Yeah.
Time for
Honestly, you
10-3.
guys keep pushing them. That'd be great because they listen to you guys. You know,
Yeah.
they respond to fans because they know that you're the reason. So cards, letters, whatever you need to do. And I feel like we're on a nice trajectory. I feel like Dissidia kind of got tapped into some cool new stuff. You know, the idea of him being back in like person form. That's kind of cool. Tidus being back.
And then releasing them on all platforms so everyone who hasn't ever touched the series
Yeah,
can get into
it's a
it.
whole new generation of people who've never played this game before. So you can start where you left off, and yet it still feels like a new game to some people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that has to change, especially because, like Greg mentioned yesterday, you're in a fantasy world. You're certainly not limited
Which
to...
means it's timeless.
Yep.
There will always be a new generation discovering it for the first time and claiming it as theirs. That's kind of a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love hearing from the fans too, and also some people don't know that like with Final Fantasy, they kind of go in tandem. So one production company takes the first Final Fantasy, and then it goes to a different production company, and then it goes to another production company. So it kind of like skips a generation. So it's like every other. So it's like great to be reminded and refreshed like those writers. But I don't know. I just want to keep hanging out with my girls with YRV and see what happens. And I want Payne to get some love, like for her to fall in love.
Love interest for Payne. That would be great.
Yeah, I wonder how she would be like. She wouldn't have some underwater scene or anything. I don't think she. I don't know if she swims or would scuba dive. But yeah, I think I would like her to find some love. That'd be cool for Payne. Yeah.
All right, she absolutely deserves it.
Thank you.
What's that?
Warren's long lost nephew. Or something.
Totally.
Yeah.
That
Keep
would be
thinking
great.
about that. Yeah, Oren's long lost daughter or something.
Yeah, that would be
We're
really
teaching
cool.
her the ropes.
Or do like a Kingdom Hearts version where it's like all the Final Fantasy, like just weird thing where all the characters come together and this like, and then we all are bouncy and like have no bones. Like Kingdom Hearts. Do you guys remember? I was just like, why do I have no bones?
Yeah, like why like just wings?
Yeah, and I was just like,
Sprites.
that was hard to voice too, to keep her like Payne, but still be like really like springy.
It's like boneless wings.
Yeah, it's a boneless thing. Yeah, it's like that'd be dope to have like a Final Fantasy reunion game where like all the characters just somehow just like are like bunched together and have cross stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I end with Payne wants love. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Thank
That's a
you.
great question.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Hi.
Mike's back. Mike's back.
One of the fanfics.
I am back, yes. So first off, I want to say, and we all agree, you know, thank you for being here. All of you have been amazing
you
at your
guys.
tables.
Oh, gosh.
Especially for doing only so many conventions, you know, second and you know, thank
2000.
you. You guys have been, for me, highlights of this entire weekend.
You say that to everyone.
I mean it.
That's
You guys
okay.
and Huck was pretty cool too.
You're
There you go.
welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you. So there's an anniversary coming up soon for 10 in a
know.
couple of years.
I know.
So
Let's celebrate.
that's
We're
what I'm
old.
saying.
You know what that tells me is we're old.
I didn't want to go there, but yeah. That's what I was trying to avoid, but yes.
It's called Legendary, dude.
Some guy was like, I'm going to teach my granddaughter. And I was like, there's the door. Get out of it. I'm just kidding. I did not.
Right.
Can I have your autograph while you're still alive?
This is really going to be worth something in a
Because
couple of
it's
years.
going to skyrocket.
So my question is, with that anniversary coming up, what do you guys? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but what do you guys think what brings the fans back to Final Fantasy in general? Why is this franchise so electric to, like you said, generation after generation after generation? What is behind? What fuels the train? The longevity of these. What do you guys think, in your opinions, as voice actors in one of those games, one of the iconic ones? What is it that you feel drives us to come and see you 20 years later? You know.
Well, it's timeless storytelling, first of all. I mean, so many of the themes in this are themes you can just pluck out of, like, everywhere from Greek, you know, or mythology all the way up to, like, contemporary storytelling. It's timeless. You have family sagas, like Greg said, between Tidus and Jecht. You have a love story, you know what I mean? And it's a tragic love story. You have a story of friendship, like the one between Yuna and Payne and Riku and the rest of the squad. Woot. So
Yeah.
and then you have these stories of like duty and honor versus, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, do I do this or do I follow my heart? You know what I'm saying? So many of the stories in this are timeless. And I have to say that I was thinking about it this morning, because so often when I'm talking about the game, I say, like, it has the whole package. It has the songs, it has the stories, it has the graphics, it has an excellent director who married all that stuff so well. But I also, and then there's the alchemy of, like, that stuff all working out when it shouldn't, you know what I mean?
And the voice talent.
And that's what I,
And the
don't steal my
artwork.
thunder.
That-
Don't steal my
it's-
thunder.
It's
Well, I said the graphics,
breathtaking
yeah.
artwork.
Breathtaking. But the thing that I haven't yet, I don't think, given enough credit to, is that there is a quality, there was something to all of us. Jack was really smart in hiring actors. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of us did some degree of acting in
Jack
this.
Fletcher, our voice
Jack
director,
Fletcher, our
yeah.
director. Like there was like actual, like we cared, we were invested in the story, and I absolutely think that translates. I mean, there's no way that I can't be hearing from this many people spread out over so many different generations and age groups and socio, all that stuff.
But there's an X factor. You can take all of those elements strategically and
Pun intended.
throw them in the pot and stir them, pun intended.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like somebody whose ego thinks they're going to create a viral video. If it doesn't get embraced, then it doesn't happen. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like
The stars align.
If you can make a list of all the things that make something successful, put them in, but if the stars aren't aligned, it doesn't necessarily, X doesn't equal, whatever you want X
Yeah,
to
that's kind of
equal.
why I use the word alchemy a lot.
Perfect.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Alchemy is as good as anything. You take all those elements. Obviously, you want everything to be the best it can be. But you can't predict it.
It's so frustrating.
But you can sure celebrate it when it goes well.
And it deserves being celebrated. Thank you.
Aw, thanks.
Next question, please.
I had another one that came up. So I've been like a big fan of certain stuff for like anime and video games for many, many years.
Yeah.
So even if it's not related to Final Fantasy or video games or anything, what have each of you guys have had a hobby for years? Like, even if it's like something like, I remember asking somebody, for example, and they told me he was super into scuba diving. Like he's been doing it since he was a teenager. So he was doing it for like almost 25 years. So my question is, what kind of hobbies do you guys have that you're very passionate about?
I want to hear this too.
Well, I love to hike. I like getting into nature and getting lost and finding my way back. And I got a buddy I walk with, and our part of Southern California, there's lots of trails and lots of stuff, and that really sets me free.
That's awesome. I actually
love it.
I live in the, I'm sorry, I meant to say, like, I've been in the Bay Area, and I found out from one of the park rangers, they add parks all the time just to keep, like, the reservations and keep it preserved.
Please
They said,
let
like,
it continue that way, not the other way, because there's people that see dollar signs where it's getting harder and harder to find open spaces, and they deserve to be protected.
Yeah. So I was wondering, how long have you been doing that?
As far back as I can remember.
Awesome.
I like being out in it.
I started out as a musician when I went to LA. I went to Conservatory of Music in San Francisco and the piano, and I actually hated it because I felt like, typical Asian parents and like, rapping your knuckles. And then I picked up this thing even more Chinesey called the Chinese zither. It's like, on like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I'm like, let me be the complete stereotype. But that's how I started. And I got a couple of record deals, and they were like, shave your head and like rap. And I was like, I don't rap, and I like my hair. This is weird. On the zither. They're like, be naked. I'm like, I don't look that good naked. Only Payne does. So I would say like, so I have my zither and the piano, and you know how I go back. So when I sometimes feel sad or I'm happy, or I'll write music. I'll just improvise. On the piano or just zither out. So So watch out for my album that's coming out. No, it's not, but it will fully maybe.
But watch out for it.
But watch out for it. Yeah, I would say that. And like Jen Hill and I really like climbing. And I got to do outdoor climbing in Joshua Tree recently. And I was like, oh wow, it's like actual like rock, like it like scratches you. But like that's really fun too. So.
If those knuckles have been wrapped, you recovered quite nicely.
Yeah. And travel. I feel like LA is my last thing. You guys are like, how long is this panel? I would say sometimes LA can get too LA, you feel me? And sometimes I love it, the food, like, and I do love eating too, and like, I love mochi, I won't lie. And, but just getting out to travel to different places, like traveling America, I've been to 49 states. And just like experiencing, and I was born and raised in Singapore, like in a different country. People, when I first came here, I used to talk like this, like people are like, what? You talk like Jar Jar Binks, of which I voiced his girlfriend on Star Wars. Because they were like, you sound like Jar Jar, let's write your character. I was like, all right, Dave Filoni, let's do this. So out of those 5,000 things I just said, those bring me joy.
Since the one that's been the longest, that I probably carried with me the longest, is reading. I am a fiend for books. Fiend. I will read anything, anywhere. I prefer books to e-readers. I tried an e-reader for 7 minutes, and I wanted to throw it at someone. No offense, but it was the worst. The worst. You like that? No offense, but it was terrible, and you're terrible if you do it. No
judgment.
No judgment, though, but you're the worst. Books are, and we're a friend to a kid who, you know what I mean, I lived in fantasy land constantly. I had a problem. I was addicted to the idea of just imagination and everything I wanted to do with a kid involved imagination. I wanted to play imaginary everything all the time. It was just such a fun place to be. I wanted magic powers, I wanted a unicorn, I wanted all of it, everything now. So I loved books, always have. Sci-fi and fantasy, typically my favorite genres. And then as I came to LA and I LA'd out, like Gwendoline said, my second job ever, I had to learn yoga for, and I was like, what is this? This is amazing. Because it felt like the same kind of fantasy exploration. It felt like the same sort of imaginative sort of like fantasy world, but like in your body and in this space that like no one could come bother you. It was great. So I've been doing yoga since I was 21. Not like hot yoga, create power yoga. Like, no, I actually do yoga, which is designed to make you connect with your body, not to disconnect from it and change it and morph it into something terrible that you hate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love this little meat suit. So, I do yoga, and I have a meditation practice that goes with it, and that has been such a lifesaver. So
my only question about goat yoga is why?
Oh, what in the world? And they poo on you.
It's
you know that, right?
It's
they
getting
poo on
big.
you.
It's very popular.
It's just
and maybe that's some
why?
microbiobes that you needed. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? Some probiotics in the goat poo. What has happened to this panel?
Anybody know? Open
How
it up
did we get to goat poo? Greg?
No, I there must be a reason. I'd love for someone to explain it to me.
Where's James?
He's doing goat yoga.
Circling
He
back.
can't be here.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
What's your favorite hobby?
Oh my gosh, well, mine is very similar to manga. So like with reading, I have a ridiculous collection. I actually had to get a storage unit to hold my,
That's when you know.
Oh, I love that.
That's
How
great.
large a storage unit?
I have a 10 by 10.
Oh, that is a store. That's
Yeah,
serious.
you got to
my-
draw the line at storage unit. That's when you know.
I know part of me, I had my friends basically say, do you regret it? And like, sometimes it's a bit of a pain in the butt.
In Manhattan, that's an apartment, by the way.
Yeah.
For three
So-
people.
Yeah. I just love the art style and I like the creativity of it. So it's just one of those things that I've been collecting stuff for a very long time. So
Yeah.
So, but thank you for your question. Like that was really interesting. So
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Next person.
So
That's
nice.
Thank you.
I feel like a schlub.
Well, I was surprised to learn at some other panels that a lot of voice actors actually haven't played the games that their voice is in.
Oh, I'm a filthy casual.
That's
Filthy
all right.
casual.
But I was just wondering, what are some of your favorite video games? Doesn't have to be Final Fantasy, but like, do you play a lot of them? And yeah, what are some of your favorites?
Galaga growing up was my big favorite. I was super good at that game. was really good at Galaga because it was in the pizza parlor.
I don't play much, but I'm incredibly good at getting a game over to a display. If it's a driving game and it's possible to go over a bridge, I'll go over the bridge.
No, if it's
just-
not possible, you'll still go.
Thank God I can talk, because my eye-hand coordination, not so good, not for gaming. I like to watch them. I like to watch gameplay.
People play them, yeah.
Do you guys remember Tetris?
It's a good game. Solid game.
That was so my jam, dude. I was like, I will not be in school, or I am in school doing Tetris. Super Mario. Like I'm like old school, like Pac-Man. Yeah. And then I remember I had to do, because I play domino and the X-Men stuff, so when we did the video game, they were like, let's have you play the game like for the fans live on like a whatever podcast thing, and then they handed me this controller with like, it was like ridiculous. It was like Sonic the Hedgehog with like 85 controllers. And so every other line was like, F this, oh, F this, F this. And so the fans were like laughing at me. So, Tetris.
Thank you.
And I think we got
Hey,
time
respect
for, one
for
more
these
quick
two
one.
people over here. They've stood through the whole panel.
I know.
Why are you standing?
After standing in lines and standing, you're standing.
He can't sit down.
Oh, you can't sit down.
He can't sit in that costume.
Song cue.
Oh, we thought it was out of respect or something. I don't know.
Very impressive.
Yes.
Throughout the whole weekend and throughout even this panel, there's been talks of like sequels and stuff. But I've wondered, especially now that you brought up books, did you know that 10-2 technically has a novelization sequel?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Technically, it has no English translation, but a book
is it
came
fan
out.
fiction?
No, it has a complete novelization in Japan that continues the story. But it's a novel. It's a book.
That's
and there's
beautiful.
only an unofficial English translation online. But
All right.
if you guys
chills.
knew that, would you be interested
cool.
in finding out what happened to the characters?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You're raising your hand. Why do you
Yes.
have it? Oh, okay, okay, all right. That's awesome.
Yeah. Just wanted to
Okay.
let you know.
Is it super weird?
Titus gets blown up.
Titus. That girl. Sorry, James.
It has a lot of things, and then it ends with to be
They
continued.
blow up so fast.
And that to be continued led to a audio thing. So
Sure.
it's completely gone. But yeah, just
Well,
wanted to
you
let
know, again, you guys are the best fans because Final Fantasy X is the only one with a sequel. What?
I hate to bring it up, but yeah,
13
13
did?
got two.
Wow. Wow. That was
Yeah.
good to know. And by the way,
I have old information then. I was
Yeah.
using that information for years on my website. Whoops.
That was only recent though. That was 2015.
Hey,
Yeah,
this
that's
is
like-
cool
oh,
wow,
information.
we're clueless.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
great.
Did you guys go for the did you guys go in for the remaster? We went in for the remaster, right? Did you did lines for remaster for 10-2? I went in for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was cool. That was cool. And there were some there were a couple, I think there was a different ending in
Yes,
there too.
there was
so
an extra additional.
yeah,
movie.
yeah, so that was really cool too. But I didn't know about the book.
Yeah, there was a book.
You know more than us. Tell us who we are.
To be fair, I haven't had the time to read it, because like you, I read physical books. So I haven't
Yeah.
ever gotten the chance to go read because it's basically a PDF file. You just swipe up forever.
Yeah. Carpal tunnel.
Yeah, I'm not myself today. I'm beside myself.
That's good to know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys again
Thank you
so much for being
Let's
with
hear
us.
it for our panel moderator. Nice job, nice job.
And you guys, thank you guys so
And
much.
you
You're
guys.
scattered all over the room, but
Honestly,
thank you all.
for
I am not worthy.
caring
I am
and
not
loving us. We
worthy.
love you back, okay?
Seriously.
And yeah, write to us on social media and I
We're
don't
all on Twitter.
Yeah, and
Twitter,
I'm on Twitter
Twitter.
and Instagram. I'm more
No.
I'm both. I don't post that often, but please, tell us your stories. Yeah. Yeah.